Okay, hi, I'm Adam Harling. Thank you for coming to our event today. I've been working in the technology industry for 25 plus years, and that's hard to believe. But from the outset, I've always used the technology, looked at the technology as a enabler. I've always put business first and then use technology to enable change and business process improvements. It's been my ethos from the outset. I like to see business and people succeed. And that's the ethos behind Nettitude, my business. Today, that's what we live by. And I'm hoping that you all come away with some useful insights and actions from today, and see the impressive capabilities of the technology we're talking about. So, you'll serve a guest speaker, Shaylin?
Yeah. Yes. Afternoon, everyone. So Shaylin Chisar, in the data and analytics space, or BI, AI, but that data analytics space for many years now, 25 plus years. But so what we do is specialize in data and analytics, helping organizations make sense of their data and this bigger, wider world of AI at the moment to see exactly what you can do with your data. So we'll show you a few demonstrations today on some customer demonstrations, and there are a couple of demonstrations around Power BI and some AI as well. Terry? Yeah.
Oh, yes. Hello, I'm Terry Hughes. I am also a member of Community Cloudy. I work kind of more in the Power BI area, moving more into project management of that kind of thing. So I work with pretty much a lot of places, so like NHS and MOD. And yeah, that's kind of me. So yeah, in a nutshell.
So this is a quick rundown of the agenda. Cover the full scope of digital transformation, the key technology available, and how that's going to impact the world we live in. The Power BI demo with Shaylin and Terry, and it's technology that's been around for quite a while now, and you can certainly use it today. We'll talk about AI and how you can use that in your business, and we'll cover how you get your business into position to use these technologies. That's really the key message today, how you get ready. And finally, of course, if there are any questions, please do. But also, at any time during the presentation, if you've got a presentation or a question, please put your hand up or raise it on Teams. So, what do we mean by digital transformation? It's a really broad term. It's not really very well defined. It's a very loose definition. I kind of like to think of it as transferring from an old flip phone to a smartphone. Obviously, you can use the internet, you can use email, you can take photos, you can use apps on a smartphone, and that's really the comparison between business as was and business where we're going. Similarly, digital transformation equips your business to do those changes. This isn't just paperless Office 2.0. Ideally, ideally, your business is using database-driven applications end to end. So you might say, we already do that because we use Excel. So does anyone use Excel to collect data in a business process? So Excel remains an invaluable tool, and it probably always will be. It's fantastic for manipulating data, but by and large, that should be considered a manual tool. So it doesn't have the data controls or flexible usability to enable it to be used correctly. So it can't control the data when it's put in very well. So what it's really talking about is using an ERP or CRM or similar system throughout the entire business end to end. And those systems can be a variety of systems that are connected together, typically through an API, but we're looking for something that's end to end. It's also, once we've got the business into a position where it's using these technologies, we're also looking for constant improvement. So, for example, if you look at the leading manufacturers in the world, someone like Tesla, the car isn't just a car, it's collecting data all the time. It's collecting driving habits, battery usage, traffic, and Tesla are collecting all that information and using it to improve their products going down the road. That's a good example of IoT, or Internet of Things. So what do we mean when we say the fourth industrial revolution? You might have heard the government mention this, or the World Economic Forum. Talk about digital transformation. The fourth industrial revolution is a bit like previous revolutions. It's going to change the way that we live and the jobs that we do. That can be a bit of a worrying prospect for some. Careers will change. I've got a couple of lists in a second on the jobs that are predicted to disappear and the jobs that are going to be created by this change. But we are seeing that change quite rapidly with the advent of generative AI. I'm assuming everyone here has played with ChatGPT and Bing Chat and Bing Chat Enterprise. Played with those. So Bing Chat and Bing Chat Enterprise combine ChatGPT and DALL-E, which is a image generative AI, into one tool, and also allow you to protect your data. So if you enter something to ChatGPT, you should always be aware that once you put it into ChatGPT, it's part of the hive mind, if you like, and you have no control of that data. With Bing Enterprise, you can query your data, your databases, SharePoint, Outlook, even, or any of your data inside the Microsoft tenant, and you have control over it. So that's kind of the Microsoft's answer to generative AI. Right, yeah, so sorry. If everyone's used those technologies, you'll know that you can write a job spec very quickly and easily. You can write a job advert, and it would have typically taken an hour or two for an HR team to develop or write out that job spec. That's down to a matter of minutes now. These tools cost next to nothing to use. Bing Enterprise or Bing Chat Enterprise is part of your Office 365 subscription, depending on which license you have, but it's basically cost-free, and it's already changing the job market. So much like the steam engine, we've reduced or drastically reduced physical labour. With generative AI, we're going to drastically reduce repetitive mental tasks, and that's happening right now. I will caveat that we are going through a hype curve at the moment, so AI is cresting the wave of the hype curve, and that will trough into the trough of disenlightenment shortly, but it's still worth pursuing these technologies because we need to get better at them. The better we get at them, the more we can get out of them. So jobs that will disappear or be replaced by AI, quite a large list, 16 jobs. I'm not going to go through them all. The biggest ones that are taking a hit at the moment are, in fact, legal. Because a lot of legal work is looking through large documents. AI is really good at looking through large documents and, say, kind of researching case law and things like that. So probably one of the first industries that's going to change dramatically is actually legal. But on the flip side, there'll be a lot of jobs created because actually using AI effectively and giving the right prompts and providing the right data is a skill all in itself. So we don't have steam engine engineers pretty much anymore, but we do have electric car engineers. So life will just change. Ultimately, being an optimist, I think it's going to be good for the human race because we won't spend time on things that we don't need to, and we can be useful in providing creative direction rather than just doing manual labouring mental tasks. Key tools and technologies in this revolution is cloud computing, obviously, storing and processing data in the cloud. Everyone here has heard of that. Big data and business intelligence, so processing large volumes of data to gain insights and optimize processes and recognize patterns. Internet of Things, so like the example of Tesla I just mentioned is a good example of Internet of Things. But obviously things like GPS trackers, machine monitoring. We've got a really good example of that in a minute with Shaylin. And another example, another technology, blockchain. So a key change in the automotive industry that's coming up shortly is a blockchain attached to a vehicle record. That will mean that you can have a uncorruptible history of events attached to a vehicle. So from its initial sale, its service history, any accidents, any recalls, in a uncorruptible chain. Really good application of that technology. I imagine that would get rolled out towards kind of housing. There's all sorts of applications for anything that you require to retain the history. 3D printing, again, everyone's heard of that. Really, it drastically reduces prototyping and short run manufacturing. One of the most interesting things I think is augmented reality. And these are products that you can buy right now, because a good example of it here. And you can have it drastically reduces the requirement for training of typically field engineers. So you can have an engineer equipped with the right technology that can have instructions, documents pertaining to the product they're working on, even diagnostic steps, and it can augment their vision with that information live in the field, drastically reducing training requirements. Also, part of that is robotic process automation, so collecting that data and using software to automate processes. All of this stuff is available today. Today we're going to cover the really accessible parts of this, which is BI, AI, and a little bit of IoT, or Internet of Things. I'm going to pass over to Shayla now for a quick demo of Power BI and the IoT example.
Two examples we have. So the first one is around a healthcare manufacturer. So they manufacture devices for hospitals, so trusts throughout the UK, and they manufacture sanitisation devices used in operational theatres. So the devices, those themselves, have different types of devices. And previously, before using Power BI or the Internet of Things, they would have engineers to go and look at the devices, that have a service schedule to go and service the devices. So that was just based on time. You had the service schedule, or if there was a call to their customer service, then they'd have to go and service. But what they decided was it was costing a lot of money for engineers to just go out around the country to look at all of these devices, because a particular hospital would just have one device. They have quite a few. So looking at all these, replacing information or replacing things within the device. So like the fluids in the device, replacing the sanitization. And when we talk about uptime of servers or something at 99%, no, this has to be uptime at 100%. Yeah, because we're talking about health here. We're talking about people. And so we've helped them embed capture within the device. So what happens is, from the device itself, it's near real-time information that's fed into the cloud. When I say into the cloud, a service in the cloud captures all of this near real-time information. It comes into a central system, and that central system is captured by Inivos, and they can see the health of all of the devices at any one time. So what it's actually enabled them to do is to be proactive in terms of servicing, or which devices are at a certain, or which ones need a higher priority. So if something comes in as a P1, they know they need to service that one first. So it's helped them not only on their device and the manufacturing, but also in their service schedule, their customer service, and logistics as well. So which ones they need to go and look at. So what this dashboard does, which is a near real-time dashboard, I say near real-time, it's as real-time as a few minutes ago, because it is actually capturing that information. So it captures information, it looks at how many incidents or reports have been issued at a different priority level by machine type, and they have different machine types. It also drills down into the actual machine, the machine number, where it was, and the last time it was serviced. Yep, so it shows this information. The other thing it shows is some kind of, it shows trending as well. So over time, we're looking at different issues they may have had over time. Now, this is just one of the reports. We can, based on this report, look at totals. We can look at, and we can filter on things like issues. So if we're only interested in the priority 12 issues, it will filter the whole report and only show those. And so there are 5 of those incidents, and those are the 5. You know, so very quickly gives you that information. I can select everything again. We can look at other filters like machine type, or the number of the machine, or which trust it was for. You know, so across the UK, you'll look at different trusts and wider as well. So there's a list of all of their you know, the trusts they have and devices within a trust. There are other pages to this as well. So things like process reporting. So how many successful and unsuccessful processes by machine type. Okay, so show percentage. They also had benchmarks as well. So they had the uptime has to be this percentage. Yeah, after that or below that, it should flag. So another thing they wanted was alerting as well. So if it drops below a certain percent, individuals would be alerted. It shows things about idle time. Then there's another one around case reporting and servicing. So case reporting is linked to another system as well, their case management system. So if somebody calls in, or if they're capturing information, then they can look at, there was a case for this Royal Hospital or this hospital here. So it's linked directly to the case management system. So now in a single central place, they can look at the device, machine, and cases about it. Last thing I'm going to show you in here is around machine servicing. Previously, they'd have a manual log of which machines were coming up for service. So they'd have to kind of diarise these and look at machines and what's coming up for service and send engineers out. Now they can see which ones are coming up for service, which ones are due a service, and which ones are past the service. They have to meet service level agreements as well. So if they're way past a service, then from a trust perspective, a hospital perspective, they have to meet these service level agreements. So it shows quickly, and they can filter on this information just to show quickly what, you know, which ones are due a service. And then with logistics tied in, they can then prioritise which ones should be serviced. Before your demo, Terry, tell me, you can talk about the supply chain piece. I will show, just do that after. You do the supply chain, and I'll come back to you.
Hello. So my demo is around a piece that we've created for the MOD. It has been showcased at other places, which is why I'm able to showcase it now. Just so you are aware, it is anonymised. So there are some very weird things like script written a lot and a number at the end for companies. Programs will have like a prog at the start, just so it's anonymised so you can't figure out who's what. So the idea of script, so the supply chain resilience, is a tool that has been created to kind of identify where problems are within a supply chain quickly, so you can be proactive at sorting out these things. So there is a page on here that we'll see shortly, which will have the whole supply chain. It's so easy and quick to find where your issues are. At the start of creating this, there were some KPIs that were created by the MOD, and so anything that's on there, it's their creation. Another thing, just so you are aware, it does follow a 5-colour RAG scheme. So if you're not sure what that means, so everything is scored between 0 and 100. So in blocks of 20s, there'll be like dark green, green, yellow, orange, red. So red is obviously really bad and dark green is really good. So as you kind of go into this, you'll get a company overview. So this is company 00056. And from here, then you can have a really quick and simple look saying, right, this company is quite good, apart from the capability exposure is quite bad. Probably should have a look at that. And then on the side, you have a list of all the other companies that you are allowed to see, because that is row level security. So you're only allowed to see companies that you are. And then you have the ability to hover on these very quick and easily, and it will show you like a snapshot of the overall metric. So you're able to see where the issue is. So like the financial one there is quite bad. Again, it has a company overview page with trend information on here, so you can see if the overall like KPIs, if they've been going up or down or remaining quite steady. So that was quite important for them to know. If they can see if something is starting to go up again, that's something that they can look into quite quickly. And then it has obviously a map of where it is, just in case you forget where it is. So this is the main piece which they use a lot. This is called Network Navigator, which is a plugin within Power BI. I'll just zoom out a bit. So this again is great for supply chains. You have a list of everywhere that the chain goes. So you can kind of follow it through the different areas. So you are able to filter it by program, which would then eliminate a lot of them. But this is quite easy to see where your key kind of suppliers are. So for example, like this one right here is in between. So if that one goes down, something is you're gonna have to kind of figure out how to fix that chain, because it goes to lots of like suppliers.
So the ones at the end are like they're suppliers to your suppliers.
Yeah. So it's not that sometimes when there's lots on, it's not very easy to look. There are some red labeled ones somewhere, which is like your prime, but the idea is it has like, you can tell which one the primes are because they'll be like the ones with lots coming for them, and they're slightly bigger. Like this one up here in the middle is slightly bigger. It goes away from prime down to tier 4. So the idea is they're meant to go slightly smaller. Unfortunately, the ONT have kind of broken this plugin because they have too many relationships, and we are nearly finished making our own custom plugin, which can handle more relationships, because there are some floaters on the edge which we've just broken Network Navigator because we have too many relationships. So again, it has the ability to go down into each individual metric, and then you can easily see where your reds are. Like here, for example, you can see reds starting to appear, and so then they'd easily be able to see, right, that's where my issues are. And then the last thing I'm going to show you, because there are 42 pages and I don't want to bore you with 42 pages of government stuff. We have governance fragility, which focuses one area, which is on environmental, social and governance, so ESG, which is quite a big thing that's being looked at the moment. So it's, again, like, as I said, the environment, social and governance. So everyone wants to have quite a low score. So it's things like pollution, noise, recycling, and just like all those kind of things that are good for the environment. So from here, we're able to drill in and actually get like a bit more of a look to see, okay, well, how is that 22 score created? So it has a list of everything that could possibly be. A good thing to note about, I think this all comes from like open sources, so you could actually find this yourself, but the idea of script is there's 20 different sources that make up this Power BI report, and it's just helping them be more proactive. And if, for example, a company wasn't very good in their environment area, we would go and help them to be better with the environment. So it's just all trying to be proactive and just be that kind of thing. So yeah, it's just using Power BI with multiple different sources in a way to help kind of make themselves more proactive, save money by being more proactive and seeing where they can make things better. So for example, this one's not very good in the corporate governance rating, really. So they also look at their shareholders. If there's some naughty people that you don't want to work with, they boot that company out quite quickly. So, and then the final one's carbon emissions. So obviously this company has some quite high carbon emissions. So this is something that they look at to try and help the company bring those down, because we all want to be nice for the environment. So that's kind of script in a bit of a nutshell, really. So I'll hand you back to Are you doing your bit showing with AI?
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of times we're asked questions about how difficult is it to develop? How do you create these visuals? Once we have created, let's say, the core or standard suite of reports for our organization, how can you extend them? Yeah, do you have to keep them coming back in to extend them, to add something else? And the answer is no. You know, and yes, absolutely we can help, but you don't need to. We can help train individuals internally on how to do this, workshop with them, transfer knowledge along the way, but also leave them with something and they can do it themselves. And so here, I'll just give you an example. On the demonstration earlier, so I'll go into this one. And what I'd like to do is I would like to add a new page. So within the reports that we saw earlier, and there were lots of different pages on the left-hand side, we can add a new page. Now, once a model has been built, we can then see all of the columns, fields, measures available for a model. So once we look at, well, how many successful events were there or unsuccessful events were there by machine type, machine brand? Yes, I can find it on the right hand side and say click, 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 and I'd like that as a bar graph or a pie chart or something else. But Microsoft have embedded something called Q&A into these tools. So into Power BI, there's Q&A, and with their AI now, they're embedding AI within their tool sets. And they'll soon embed AI into most of the tool sets we're familiar with, including things like Word and Excel, and there are things that you can do already within those tools. So within Power BI, if I double click, right, double click. Oh, come on. Sorry, I had to create a new. Blame your laptop. Right, so if I double click somewhere on a new page, Power BI will predict things, and this is using AI with natural query, also or Q&A, and it's trying to predict to say, well, I can help you get started. What are you trying to do? Would you like to look at the total amount of machines by location? Well, that'd be a good one, because I don't know that at the moment. I could click on that, or show me the issue count for last week. So I could start with one of these. Well, what was the issue count for last week? Well, there weren't any last week, but now it started doing something. Well, what is it for last year? And it will try to do something. Yeah, so show me issue count of these machines, these devices for the last year, 2020. Okay, we'll start there. By machine brand. Still trying to do something. I'll create another one. There we go. It's doing that. So now we've started off with a question and we're extending that question. I'd like to do something similar. I'm just a report user, okay? So this has been developed for me. I'm now a report user. If I click on here, it's okay, brilliant, this is good. I would like to show me, you don't have to type in show me. You can say show me successful processes by machine brand again. There we go. I've added a new chart just by typing. Now, because I don't want other people in my organization to know that I use this, I can now say, well, pin this chart as a standard visual. There we go. So I'm going to share this now internally and say, oh, I created this lovely chart for you. So we can easily do that. Now, but the other thing we can do is this is a starting point. So I've got one here, got another one here, and I'll double click again. Well, I could just copy and paste this one up here. And now I could change the visualization to a table as such. And now what I'd like to do is say, well, let's use machine brand and we'll create a filter, a slicer as such. There's my quick dashboard. So if I click on one of these, does it interact? Yeah, interacts. Give it a title, give it a name, share the report, and that's how Microsoft are embedding this latest technology. When I say latest technology, they've had it for a few years now, the Q&A part, but they're extending it, to include things like AI within all of this. But it's a great way to start. And is it going to replace everything? Probably not, because the underlying model still needs to be developed. That underlying understanding of your data still needs to be, understood and developed and created. And AI will get us so far. And this is what you said, recently as well. AI will get us so far, but it's a great starting point. Yeah, and then you can extend upon that. So that's the AI. It's known as Q&A within Power BI.
Amazing reports. Lovely.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Terry. So now we'll move on to artificial intelligence. The challenges that any business is going to have using or implementing AI technology today, the number one is security. The vast majority of large language models, our AI tools like ChatGPT, are very much in beta. It is quite new technology, and they're also open. So the moment you give those systems your data, it's absorbed into the hive mind, if you like, and available for use by other users. You could, for example, cut and paste your sales information into ChatGPT, ask it to carry out some analysis. That's all well and good. It could provide you with some useful insights. But then your sales data is available for other people to query, and it may appear in other people's reports. So you've got to be really careful with what you do with open source platforms like ChatGPT. So don't copy and paste that kind of information into that platform. However, there are platforms that enable you to do that safely, namely the one we're talking about today is Big Chat Enterprise, which enables you to compartmentalize your data away from, stop it being absorbed. So you can query it using AI and large language model, but it doesn't get taken into use by the users. Next part is availability. So is your data available for use? And is it in a format that can be used? So it helps and massively reduces cost if the platforms you use are open and make that data available, i.e. by that I mean they have an API. And that may impact the type of or the vendor that you choose, because if they don't have an API available, then you're not going to be able to get your data in. You have to extract data, potentially write some software to get that data out. So really, you want to be looking for platforms with an open API. And the third problem is quality. What is the quality of the data? Obviously, rubbish in, rubbish out. So you want to have control over the quality of that data, how it's tagged from a meta point of view. So the type of data it is, its sensitivity, and how it's categorized when it's inside your database, or indeed SharePoint or any of the other Office applications. With Big Chat Enterprise and Copilot, will all be released November 1st, so it's very, very close to release. There are a number of previews, very hard to get your hands on, but they are, the capabilities look quite amazing. So let's talk about Copilot. It's composed of essentially three points to consider. One is going to be built into Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and it's part of the tool. Microsoft Graph is the component that allows you to bring your data in. So it's actually the same technology that's used in Power BI. So it's a repository for your data. So you can pull data in from SharePoint or from an API on the ERP platform, for example, and make that table available for query. And it uses a large language model, so you can query it in plain English, and it will come back to you in plain English or in a human-like response. So that's where Copilot. It's going to automate menial tasks. So For example, in Excel, just imagine like having kind of an Excel wizard sat on your shoulder at all times. You can say, oh, can you visualize this for me? A bit like Power BI, the example which Shona just showed. But that's going to be in Excel. So it's going to be even easier to access that data. For meetings, it'll record notes. It'll allow you to, for example, if you join a meeting late, you can say what's happened in the meeting so far, and it can show you the salient points of the meeting. And it'll allow you to kind of book meetings by comparing people's calendars and finding the best suitable spot. And it will add tasks to your task management platform inside Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Planner, so that your actions from that meeting are already stored and you don't have to remember to write them down. I'm going to generate content. So the example I gave earlier is writing a job advert. You can open Word, write me a job advert, and it will do it for you. None of the output of these things is ever perfect. They are, as Shayla said, very much a starting point, but it does shave a job that would take an hour down to 10 minutes because you've got the body of the work there. You don't really have to put too much effort into generating it from the start. It provides enhanced data insights. So it can make predictions. It can look at large data sets. And as humans, we're not very good at looking at huge data sets. It's just not something that's the human brain's very adapted to. So with BI and AI, it can look for patterns and it can produce forecasting. The demos I've seen of the Excel plugin means that you can take for example, your financial results from last year, give it that as a profit and loss, and ask it to do a forecast for next year, and it does a pretty good job of it. Again, it's a starting point. It's not a finished product, but it does take a lot of kind of the menial work out of the task, and that's really what this is about. And it can detect anomalies. Again, humans aren't very good at spotting anomalies in large volumes of data, so it can look for odd patterns and highlight those for further human investigation. A lot of this is kind of making it ready for the human rather than doing the whole job for you. And it can also use it from a security point of view. We can look for those same anomalies in the way people access data. So if we see someone logging in from a strange country or from a strange time of day that they don't normally log in, we can collect that information and say that's an anomaly, let's investigate that, and have a human investigator. There's many benefits. It's going to be built into the Microsoft 365 platform and available for general release on November 1st. I do suggest checking it out. So how do we get to a point where we can use all of this technology? It's all very exciting. I think Power BI, the demo there shows the reporting capabilities are amazing, and way beyond what's been available in most businesses. Well, it's taken to another level. Most people are still using Excel for reporting. This is a world apart. So how do we get to the point where we can use this data? Oh, sorry, mentioned earlier. Here's a caveat. What about there? Oh, back. We're there. Generating AI, and we get to go down here. But it will level out. And despite the fact that we'll go through this trough, I still think it's very important to adopt these technologies. We get better at them. The more you use them, the faster we get through that trough, and the more useful they'll become. So it's still worth investing in that. Just bear that in mind that it's quite a hype thing at the moment, and we will go through this curve. Interesting graph. So go. So how do we get to this point? Well, we need foundations in place. So the first thing to do is cybersecurity. Obviously, another huge buzz phrase, provides a lot of distraction and worry for many businesses. And our advice would be just get it right, take it off the table. So put the right mitigations in place, put the right technologies in place, and remove the risk as much as possible. Make sure you've got good recoverability. And to fully utilise AI, we've also got to ensure that the data with that AI is going to use and BI is going to use is stored in a secure way. So ensure that, for example, if your data is stored in SharePoint, all of your SharePoint permissions are correct. If it's an ERP platform, the API is accessing only the data it needs. So some work needs to be done to ready your security stance for adopting these technologies. You also need to standardise your technology stack. There's no point trying to use Power BI if you don't have an ERP platform that makes the data available. So you need to look at the systems you're using and make sure that they make the data available for use. And that's typically through most SaaS platforms. Sorry, that's an acronym, software as a service platforms. That's going to be through an API. It might be that you have a kind of locally stored database and you have access to SQL tables, in which case you can work with that. But in most cases, you want to be looking for vendors with an open API. You want to make sure you've got a change process in place as well, because the issue with technology standardization is if you don't control it quite tightly, your team can go and make their own standards, and what we call rogue IT or shadow IT. And what I mean by that is I need to send a file to Josh, and he's in a different building. I'm just going to use resend-it or something like that, .com. Never heard of it, but I can chuck a file on it. And all of a sudden, my company data is on a different platform that nobody's got control of, and it could stay there forever and it could be accessed by anyone. So you need to make sure that you're ahead of the game here and put those platforms and make them available to your team before they start adopting their own. So keep ahead of the curve on that, and it's part of that standardization. If you've got one way of sharing files, use that one way across the entire organization. Don't adopt Dropbox and Drop.com, all these millions of other platforms. And end user experience. Make sure the technology is fit for purpose. So a lot of the computing in these platforms, is done in the cloud, obviously, but it does rely on good connectivity, and that's still a problem in this country for a lot of businesses, especially in the SME market. And it also requires on having relatively good desktop hardware. A lot of the rendering is still done on the desktop, and especially when you're designing Power BI, you can need some horsepower on the desktop. So make sure that your users have a good level of technology. I've seen projects like this fail because they've tried to use old machines that can't even render the software, and everyone's giving up on it because it's taking too long to render. So make sure all those things are in place. Once you've got those things nailed, then you're ready to start looking at these technologies, but you do need to get those steps in place first. So to get started, the first thing you need to do is conduct an audit. That's part of the work that we do and can help with. Look at the complete current position, current risk, safety, security, availability, the points of cover really, standardization, platform capability, adoption, and user experience, compute power, suitable technology and knowledge. From that, we can develop a gap analysis and a roadmap to adoption. So what do you need to get in place? And we can also identify opportunities. So where could Power BI help you? Where could automation help you with regard to process automation? And how could AI be adopted using your data? So there we go. That's where we are. Does anyone have any questions? No. Yes.
We use Power BI, use ChatGPT, and we use process automation as well. Which one do you think has made the biggest difference?
I think personally, so far BI has definitely made the biggest difference in the business, and the visualization and insights provided is quite critical. What's critical for us permanently now is this part of the business, and the fact that you can query across multiple data sources and bring them together in one visualization is quite powerful. I think AI, there are quite a few risks attached to being too reliant on AI. So, for example, you really do need to use the output from things like ChatGPT as a base form rather than just using it to send, because it's not really human. It is someone else's words effectively. So with great care, I think, with that so far. There we go. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the presentation and it's been, well, useful. Thank you.